quarter of a mile, keep right to continue towards Tons Lane, A355.
So we had to, but there comes a point, and even I, and my God, I've been around the news business for a long time, even I sometimes am watching a news broadcast, and I think, why are you giving those figures now? We all know it's grim. Does it really? Because candidly, my friends,
Keep right.
I don't know, but probably, I remember doing this some months ago, sadly, if it's an average day, around 400 people yesterday will have died from cancer. And again, if that touches your lives, you have my enormous. So if we're going to do COVID, we better do cancer. If we're going to do cancer, we better do heart conditions. If we're going to do heart conditions, we better do diabetes. But where does it end? Your views in a moment. Let's speak to a couple of people I think have opposing views on this. First, former Cabinet Minister, and indeed he was leader of the Conservative Party, Tory MP, Sir Ian Duncan Smith. Where are you on this, Sir Ian? Good morning.
Well, I'm completely in favour of moving away. We're already seeing other countries in Scandinavia doing it. I think we're waiting today now. We're going to have to live with it. I mean, I actually had COVID a week ago, so I had to self-isolate. But, their symptoms were pretty light, really, but I ended up having to self-isolate.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the first exit onto the M4 slip road to London, Heathrow Airport.
Do you think, in a way, and I understand why the government did it, and I'm going to justify why the media did it at the start, sadly it's had rather negative impact on the countryside.
In a quarter of a mile, merge onto M4.
A bit too much, so you...
Yeah, I can understand that view on this, why early on we need to explain to people what was happening, but the problem we can now see is that two things. First of all, there is now a huge backlog because in 2020, the health service basically stopped treating all those who had heart disease, cancer treatment, etc. because of their fear that they're coming to the hospitals to catch it. The result of that is a massive backlog, and also, no question at all, that people would have died because they weren't able to get treatment or because they became so frightened they wouldn't go to treatment. I mean, I was suggesting to one of them, having letters or emails from constituents saying, do you think I ought to go to hospital? Do you know, I ought to go see my doctor? I'm worried I might catch COVID. And these are people who need their cancer treatment. So, the problem when you do it like this and you focus solely on one thing, it skews everything else and creates a problem in the way that people get what they call the balance of risks, which basically in our lives we make decisions about risk all through our lives. Whether it's as simple thing as where do you cross the road or do you ride a motorcycle. You balance risk. The risk is there, but you balance it on what it delivers to you. And that's what we tended to have. I felt that we were trying to get rid of the idea that people take responsibility for that risk. I think we have to get back to that, otherwise we can't live our life.
Lastly, in a sentence, Ian, to those who would say, knowledge is power, we need to know, and if the figures are starting to go up, what are convenient ways for the government to cover them up? How would you respond?
Well, this whole conspiracy stuff really at the end of the day doesn't work because the government's not trying to cover up the figures. What they're trying to do is say we have to try and get back to our normal lives and live with this. We've got very good vaccines. People have been vaccinated. You see that the death figures are very low, absolutely low. People think when it comes to just COVID, not other comorbidities, and also hospitalisation, etc. The government's not going to cover those up. If there's a huge surge or there's a war problem, the government will certainly go back to telling people what they have to do.
So, I must leave it there. Wish you a speedy recovery. Ian Duncan Smith was a former Cabinet Minister and leader of the Conservative Party. He's obviously a Conservative MP in Chingford and Woodford, green 12 after 7. So that's the argument for the dropping off. What about the argument against? Dr. Simon Clark is Associate Professor in Cellular Biology at the University of Reading and has regularly helped us through what has nearly been 2 years of this story. Joins me now. I would imagine, Professor, as a medical man, sir, you're not in favour. Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. No, I'm not in favour of this. This has been put around by certain people for quite some time now. This is not something new, and it's not just the death figures that people have been asking to drop, and presumably that they're not just asking to drop the death figures now. They want to drop all the figures. And while I make no comment about how different broadcasters or publications report those, people do need to know what's going on with the greater picture in society. People like me, the scientists and the medics, and without that information, we're not going to know. And it does rather smack of taking the batteries out of your smoke alarm because the noise it makes irritates you.
I hear you, but for folks such as yourself who's very professionals in this, I'm not saying they shouldn't be available on a website. I'm not saying for one moment that there should be a permanent. All I'm saying is, do we actually need to publish them on the news and to pick up on what Ian says, possibly continue to spook people, Professor?
Probably not. And I'll tell you now, I didn't check them every day. If you ask me daily what they are now, I know that they're going down on the whole, and that's what we need to know. But I do fear that this is part of a wider agenda to get rid of it altogether and to stop even people like me sort of raising the alarm if there is a problem.
You don't think that lasting professionals like you, and I think as I might have said to you, but I've certainly said on the radio, I couldn't even spell epidemiologist prior to the pandemic. We've now learned how important men and women like you are, the roles you play in our lives. Don't you think now you will always have an audience, Doctor? Sorry, Professor.
We may well do, but we can't accurately report what is going on if we don't know. We'll always be open to question if we don't have the data. We can never tell people for sure what's happening if we don't have that data.
Fair point. Thanks for your time, Professor. Dr. Simon Clark, Associate Professor in Cellular Biology at the University of Reading. And there it is, my friend. It's as simple as that. There's no in-betweens. You either publish these figures on the BBC and
In 2 miles, at junction 4B, exit towards M3, M23.
Those people are hopefully getting back to normality, whatever it is. Albeit the ones we lost getting back to their jobs, whatever. That's what we now do. We'll take your views on that. In other news, rolling the pitch or greasing the steps for the Commissioner. Credit where it's due. Mayor Sadiq Khan says, with this much longer, up with it I will not put.
The Met Commissioner has been put on notice. Time to take a look back at those low moments on LBC's Theo Usherwood.
And it was drearily predictable, I suppose, that this star... Adele, for her comments at the Brits earlier this week, is now agreed to be a TERF, and the backlash has begun. 7:15 LBC News headlines, Simon Conway.
Boris Johnson heads to Poland later for talks on the ongoing Ukraine crisis, while another 1,000 British troops are being put on standby. Formal questionnaires are being sent by the Met Police to more than 50 people over allegations of lockdown parties at Downing Street. And new figures show anti-Semitic abuse in the UK hit a record high last year. LBC weather, wet and windy in the north, rain clearing to sunny spells in the south, a high of 8 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne. We have lots of problems still on the underground. No Circle Line at all. The Hammersmith and City Line can't run between Hammersmith and King's Cross. And the Victoria Line is suspended between Victoria and Brixton. Also severe delays on the District and Metropolitan lines and minor delays on the Northern. On the roads, long delays on the A13 eastbound to the Goresbrook interchange. That's all down to an accident. In Bermondsey, Tower Bridge Road is now partially blocked southbound following an accident. And there are queues back over Tower Bridge. In Forest Hill, there are queues on the South Circular Road in both directions to Honour Oak Road. The traffic lights aren't working, and in Caulston North, it's very busy in both directions on the A23.
This is LBC. The Wi-Fi's down. Wi-Fi. This is broadband rage. It happens when your internet drops out and the red mist descends. Why suffer like this? Get the UK's first unbreakable Wi-Fi. Only BT's new hybrid home broadband is backed up by EE's mobile network.
4G connection takes up to 175 seconds. Verify bt.com/verify hybrid.
In a quarter of a mile, at junction 4B, exit towards M3, M23.
The operating hours of the Central London Congestion Charge are being reduced. From the 21st of February, the £15...
Exit at junction 4B, then keep right at the fork.
7 a.m. to 6 p.m. On weekends and bank holidays, it will operate from noon until 6 p.m. This will help reduce congestion during the day and support the nighttime economy. For more information, search TfL Congestion Charge. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Selling your car doesn't have to mean haggling.
Keep right at the fork.
Pretending to be a car connoisseur. Simply sell your car the motorway way. It's the new sell your car from home way. Or
continue on M25 south for 1.5 miles. Junction 14, use the left 2 lanes to take the A3113 exit to Heathrow Airport. Use the left 2 lanes to exit at Junction 14, then keep right. Keep right. In half a mile, at the roundabout, take the first exit onto Airport Way, A3113. In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the second exit onto Southern Perimeter Road. Exit the roundabout onto Southern Perimeter Road. In 200 yards, at Western Perimeter Road roundabout, take the second exit and stay on Southern Perimeter Road. Exit the roundabout onto Southern Perimeter Road. Continue on Southern Perimeter Road for 1.5 miles.
Of December 2020, surrounded by alcohol, food, and people wearing tinsel. It looks a lot like one of the Christmas parties he told us never happened.
Response from the Prime Minister.
I'm afraid, first of all, I'm very sorry about his constituent and for the difficulties.
In 1/4 mile, at the roundabout, take the third exit onto Beacon Road.
Very much her feelings, Mr. Speaker, but in what he has just said, I'm afraid he is completely in error.
Let's turn to criminal justice commentator and broadcaster Danny Shaw. Danny, 2 questions. How is the Met going to determine who has broken rules? And if so, what powers or what action might they take? Morning, Danny.
Good morning, Nick. Well, what they're doing is sending questionnaires to over 50 people who believe to have taken part in gatherings in Downing Street and Whitehall. Those emails in the...
Exit the roundabout onto Beacon Road. In 100 yards, at the roundabout, take the second exit onto Stanwell Road.
...of their participation, and they'll have to reply within 7 days. I think this is akin really to a legal document. The Met is saying...
Exit the roundabout onto Stanwell Road.
Truthfully.
In half a mile, turn right onto Great South West Road, A30.
And then the one referred to in the Commons yesterday has been added to the list, or potentially added to the list. That's the one in December 2020, the Christmas quiz. And, you know, the Met will already have a lot of information about those gatherings and who was there, and it will look at the answers that they're given and decide on the basis of those answers whether or not the individuals should be issued with a fixed penalty notice. I mean, if someone denies
turn right onto Great South West Road, A30.
That they've attended a gathering and they don't have a reasonable excuse, and that's the key thing. The only really reasonable excuse will be that it's necessary for work. It is possible that the Met might decide to launch proceedings in the magistrates' courts. If someone contests a fixed penalty notice, that is the next step that can happen. That does run the risk, if the person is found guilty in the magistrates' court, that they will get a criminal record. If they get a fixed penalty notice, no criminal record is attached to it.
And I believe the maximum fine is £10,000.
In a quarter of a mile, at Clockhouse Roundabout, take the first exit onto Staines Road, A315. In 200 yards, turn left onto Hatton Road.
Gatherings and give them fixed penalty fines. They don't sort of just add up simply. There is a multiplier that does go, I think, up to around that range. So it's potentially possible that the Prime Minister, who is thought to have attended...
Turn left onto Hatton Road.
He could end up with a fine in the thousands of pounds. So, you know, I don't think the financial penalty is really the issue here for most people. It's the political penalty that could be incurred, isn't it?
In 300 yards, at the roundabout, continue straight to stay on Hatton Road.
Coming in concerning whether they drop, we drop, the broadcasters drop daily death tolls. In other news, unmasked the serial killer or double murderer Ian Stewart. This was his call, or part of his call to police, after he killed his first wife, Dinah, back in 2010.
My wife's had a fit. I think she's in the garden. She's in the garden. Right, you need to slow down, okay? Because she's in the garden. She's unconscious.
No, she's not. You just smothered her to death. In other news...
In 300 yards, turn right onto New Road.
Bailout deal because the terms were unacceptable. I'm LBC's Rachel Venables with the story.
The stories are more after the 7:30 LBC News headlines. This is Nick Ferrari with Breakfast. The headlines read by Simon Conway.
British officials have warned a Russian invasion of Ukraine would lead to a mass displacement of people in Eastern Europe. Boris Johnson is flying to Poland later to show support for a key NATO ally. Moscow denies it's preparing to invade Ukraine, despite placing tens of thousands of troops on the border.
Take the second right onto New Road.
Contacted by the Metropolitan Police to ask for their accounts of alleged COVID rule breaches at Downing Street. The force says formal questionnaires will be sent by email starting in the coming days. Recruiters say firms...
In a quarter of a mile, turn left onto Bethany Way.
A report has found starting salaries for permanent and temporary workers are being driven up because of a lack of candidates. And the weather, rain clearing southern England to leave sunny spells for many. Wet and windy further north with rain and hill snow moving east across Scotland. A high of 8 degrees.
LBC. This is Joe. Hello. Joe is passionate about flooring. Wood, laminate, even a classic textured pile. He loves his job and takes great pride in every little detail. Joe is with Trust a Trader. And there are thousands more just like him, all experts at what they do. So next time you need something doing, try Trust a Trader to find a verified local tradesperson with great reviews. You can always trust a trader. Cheers, Joe. Give your new puppy the love they deserve, and Pets in a Pickle will cover the rest.
Take the next left onto Bethany Way.
Unique as they are, visit petsinapickle.co.uk.
Hey, business types. Word's getting round. There's a whole new way to scale up, without phone costs going off the scale. Switch to Circle Loop, the smart new cloud-based phone system that makes it easy for...
In 200 yards, turn left onto Staines Road, A315.
We're talking less complexity, easy scalability, all-out connectivity. Keep your peeps in the loop for less. Get your free 7-day trial at circleloop.com. Circle Loop. Now you're talking.
Life's Journey 241. Deciding that a mucky play in the park means picking up treats for the kids on the way home. Plus a sneaky treat for myself.
Get a welcome.
Take the next left onto Staines Road A315.
To spend on little treats more often. Register with BP Me Rewards by downloading the BP Me app or picking up a card in store today. BP. Every day, brighter. Offer ends 28th of February 2022. T's and C's apply. See full conditions at bpmerewards.co.uk.
It's estimated that 1 in 10 children will experience sexual abuse before they turn 16. That's equivalent to 3 in every classroom. Most children won't tell anyone at the time. But there are signs to look out for.
Continue on Staines Road for half a mile.
Acting differently. They could be trying to tell you something's wrong. To learn more about the signs and find further support, visit stopabusetogether.campaign.gov.uk.
Jay's going all in for his customers. And all he has to think about is getting the job done. Because he's gone all in with Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles, our service package for vehicles under 100,000 miles and 3 to 6 years old. 2 services, 2 MOTs, 2 years warranty, 2 years roadside assistance, all for 1 monthly cost. So Jay can carry on with the job in hand. Join thousands of drivers being looked after by our award-winning after-sales and go all in from Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles. Search Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles All In today. For vehicles with 2-litre engines and under, subject to vehicle check, T's and C's, eligibility and exclusions apply. Volkswagen Finance.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With the British Airways American.
In a quarter of a mile, turn right onto Shaftesbury Avenue. Take the next right onto Shaftesbury Avenue, then turn left onto Roslin Avenue.